one of the amazing resources that we are so privileged to have in the community, see, I cut myself out there, is Techstars. And it is truly rare for a community this size to have a Techstars affiliation. So I think that speaks to what the Mayo Clinic can bring, but also what we as entrepreneurs regionally are capable of doing. And I think we definitely are catching the eye of communities and institutions like Techstars. So Rachelle is here to kind of give us an overview of Techstars. And with that, I'm going to go eat.
So yeah, I'm Rachelle Oribio, and I'm the program director of Techstars Plus here in town. You'll find me floating around the accelerator sometimes, graciously hosted by Reddy. Wonderful, thank you, Chavi. And so we have a bunch of different programs, and I think that this is a good time to kind of explain all the things that Techstars does, because we do a lot of different things, and in town you only see me and Plus, but really close by, there's other programs, like Kansas City has Sprint Accelerator that's 6 hours away. There's our program up in Chicago, and then we're launching one with Target, or already did, with Ryan Broshar up in the Twin Cities. So there's a lot of Techstars organizations that are really close by, but ours is really different here, and so I wanted to make sure everyone understands what it is that we do as a whole. So it kind of looks weird, like it's all kind of, the slides aren't like that, it's just kind of how the projector is. So we recently acquired UpGlobal. Does anyone know what UpGlobal is, or what used to be? Okay, Jamie can't answer things. Well, I know you know. Come on out.
What UpGlobal is?
Or,
Is that where that started again?
yeah. So UpGlobal was a nonprofit that we acquired. And you're thinking, why does a for-profit business acquire a nonprofit? Well, it actually has a lot to do with our vision, mission, and our goals. And it's to be able to build entrepreneurial networks, support founders, and bring innovative technologies into the market wherever they want to do that, right? So we are a firm believer that you don't have to be in Silicon Valley to start a great startup. Yeah, we just don't think that that's true. There are a lot of amazing startups there, and they have a great ecosystem. But why can't we build that in other places? And there are really great communities in other places. Our headquarters is in Boulder. The headquarters for a lot of the UpGlobal stuff is in Seattle. Neither of those are Silicon Valley. And the whole mission for UpGlobal was to work with communities and help them with their economic development, help people make their ideas into reality, get people to think outside the box. And so those two missions really sunk really well together. And we thought, even as a for-profit business, we have a very social mission. And so if we can help by bringing on a nonprofit as part of our organization, and then helping to give a little bit of our funding that we make over to those programs and make entrepreneurship, make being a founder a reality for more people, that we were going to do that. So we have a couple moving parts when it comes to Techstars, and there's a lot of arrows here, it's kind of confusing. So Techstars is the overall company that we have. It started in 2006. There were 4 founders. Jared Polis, who's a politician, doesn't really work with much of Techstars right now. There's Brad Feld. Brad Feld is a venture capitalist. He's been in a couple of different VCs, but he's right now with Foundry Group. There's David Cohen and David Brown. The Davids, as we like to call them, are the leaders of our organization. We have a couple other managing directors, but they're kind of the heart and soul because they're also the founders, right? So they don't only just lead it, they founded it. So these 4 gentlemen got together, and the whole concept was Brad and the Davids wanted a way that they could do angel investing in startups without losing all of their money and also being able to help the businesses. Because what they found is that a lot of angel groups are just kind of a lot of wealthy people kind of in a club, here's some money, I don't care what you do with it, and they usually lose a lot of it. And that's not really the best way to do your investing. And these guys had started multiple businesses, so they had a lot to give to other entrepreneurs, and they wanted to be able to give that knowledge out to help them grow and not just be like a check, you know. That's one thing that I guess we really stress at Techstars. It's not really all about the money, it's more about the people. So they started the group together and said, let's make a mentor-based accelerator where the mentors will get a bunch of different people from venture capital, from industry, business leaders, CEOs who've been really successful. And let's have them mentor people with ideas, budding entrepreneurs, and see what happens. And we're going to help by investing in these companies for a couple of percent, and we're just going to give them like 20 grand or something just to start off, just seed money. And the concept really grew from there. So right now we have 23 accelerator programs globally. So we're in the United States and Europe with our programs, well, the accelerator programs. Let's see if I can't name them all. I think there's like 18 different regions or something. But we have, I think Tel Aviv was announced. We have, so I guess we do have Africa and Middle East too. So there's a lot of accelerators. Johannesburg, New York, and London. That's Barclays. Has those 4 accelerator programs focusing on fintech. Then we've got London has a couple other things. Some of you may or may not have seen, but we're going to be working with Virgin Media in London as well. There's a London program in general. There's 2 different programs in Berlin. And then all across the United States, we work with different corporations, and we also have city programs. And this is where it kind of starts to get confusing. So half of our programs are corporate-sponsored accelerator programs. And then the other half of the accelerator programs are city-based. So the city-based, like let's take New York City or Boston, for example. Those managing directors, Alex, for example, in New York City, he is now raising angel money, investor money, and creates his own fund for that city. And that fund then sponsors the program. He gives the initial seed money to the companies that we bring in, and then the convertible debt notes that we also give out if people want them. It's $100,000 if people feel like they want to take on debt. That we go through another fund that we have at Techstars Central, right? Now, when we're working with accelerator programs that are corporate, so I'm talking about Sprint, Qualcomm, Target, Cedars-Sinai that just launched in LA last month, Disney, all these programs, those corporations pay us money to run these accelerators. Why do they do that? That's a question that everyone always asks. I don't get it. Like, these are big corporations. Like, why does Disney need to work with startups? Well, when you're in a big corporation, even something as creative as Disney, a lot of times everyone kind of gets into that whole group think, and they're not as innovative. So it gets really hard to keep your innovation going if everyone's starting to think the same way. It's hard to change your processes and procedures. It's hard to do a lot of different things and get new ideas running. So they want to work with startups to get those new ideas and also be maybe first investors in those ideas. So for Disney, for example, the $100,000 convertible debt note that the company can take on, that money comes from Disney. So you could be starting off your business in a Techstars program with initial investors of Techstars and Disney. That kind of sounds pretty cool as a startup. Any questions so far on that? Because I know it can be kind of confusing. No? And if you have any questions, just kind of shout them out. It's totally okay. So that's the accelerators, just the accelerators. Now, Techstars Ventures is different. Techstars Ventures is the venture capital arm of our firm. So we do have investment in our companies when they come into the program. When we give them seed money, we take 6 to 7%, depends on the program that you're in. And it's not for the money that they're giving us this equity. It's for the mentor-driven experience. I was reading a blog post from Alex Iskol, the managing director of New York, the other day, and he had this whole list that he had compiled of his companies currently in the program. They're at the halfway point. And they said all the things that they learned in the program, what has been really interesting for them. And one of them, Grapehorn, is a company in cybersecurity. They said the best thing for them, the reason that they were doing this, was because in 1 month they were able to, I think, increase their, they got 33% more customers. Yeah, they increased by 33% their customer base in 1 month. That's some kind of high growth, I would say. So the using the model of having someone who's done this before, mentors, people with real knowledge and connections in an industry that you want to be in or succeed at, that's what really makes Techstars a program that people want to be a part of. It's not the $20,000 that they get. And we actually give them a money back guarantee. So if they go through this 3-month program, our accelerator programs are 3 months long, and they decide, I didn't really get the value that I thought it was going to get out of this, we'll give you back your equity. We've given you $20,000, we've given you connections, we've given you 3 months of our time, hard work and sweat, and you can ask for your equity back. Because that's how strongly we believe in what we're doing. We think that, this is a super amazing network. The company portfolio is over 700 companies now, and that includes the likes of Uber, that includes PillPack, that maybe some people here in medical might know that. We have the Daily Burn, we've got Sphero that made the Star Wars droids. Anyone here like Star Wars? Yeah? Anyone know?
You can raise your hand.
You can. Everyone's so shy. You know those new droids that they created for the movie, the BB-8s? Anyone see those in the store? Yeah? Those were made by Sphero, which is a Techstars company. So the whole thing with Sphero, they went through the first class, the 2007 Boulder class. They became a successful toy company. And then they said, hey, well, we have this thing with Disney. Do you guys want to come and see what you can make with Disney? They said, okay, sure. They see these toys, which are like running around like little droid balls, and then they said, oh, cool. What if we made the new Star Wars R2-D2, but like this? And then they grew from there. And like, if you've been trying to get one of these toys, because I've been trying to get one of these, like they are sold out everywhere. It's completely. I got to play with one of them at FounderCon, which was a month ago, and it just like I kind of want to put this in my bag and see if like they'll notice, but I didn't. I thought probably a bad way to start off a relationship. So those are kind of the companies and what goes on in an accelerator program, right? And then Techstars Ventures, so we've already done the investment. We can also double down and invest in you again. So there are kind of some stipulations around that though. So we don't like to invest in companies before they come into the program, during the program, or like maybe a year after the program, because of signaling purposes. We don't want people to think like, oh, Techstars didn't invest in them, they must be a bad company. Because that's not how we think. Like all of the companies that come into our program are amazing, and we stand behind all of them. Our failure rate is 11%. So in startups, that's actually really low. I think it was like 80-90% or something is super high. So have 89% of our companies either active or acquired is a success. And Techstars Ventures will at some point do some of the investment. So it's 100 to 300,000 for seed, and I think it's like 1 to 3 million for Series A. Those are kind of the ranges that we look at. And we work really closely with people like Foundry Group and Social Capital. There's a ton of venture capital firms that we work with. So when we look at the portfolio of the 700 companies, we've raised, those companies, that aggregate of 700 companies has raised over $2 billion for their startups. And that $2 billion, we've only put in 40 million of that. So 98% of the investment that our companies get are from outside. They're from people, angels, they're from venture capital firms, they're from strategic partners, like could be Mayo Clinic, for example, as a strategic partner. So that's what Ventures does. And we typically do invest in our own companies, but sometimes we invest outside of that. We'll invest into our mentors. We'll also invest into people who are really close to our network. The reason that we do it that way is because we believe in people, and that people are the most important thing, and the relationships are more important. So I'll show you that in the next slide, but that's the reason why. So then there's the part of the company that I run, which is Techstars++. So this is a business development piece. So after you've gone through all of these accelerators, and you can go through them multiple times like Spiro did, you have the benefit of going through the 3-month accelerator program, and then the support that we give you to raise your venture capital through demo day at the end of the accelerator program, where there'll be like 100 investors, or 400 investors or so on average that are there meeting with you, and then also the community is there. And then you can come and work with us here at Mayo Clinic. So what we do for Techstars++ is we bring 3 to 4 companies in each quarter, and we have them connect with physicians and clinicians and stakeholders here in Rochester who could help them further their business, who might want to do co-development, there's a myriad of different kind of partnerships that we could do here. And it's because we recognize that Mayo is a leader in healthcare, and we want to be able to provide our companies with that sort of access. And we also, on the Mayo side, they want to be able to see these companies firsthand. They want to get the opportunity to possibly invest in them. They want to be able to get the new technology first. and we get to be like kind of a vetting pool. So people at vendors get pinged all the time with all these startups that are like, we'll be really great for Mayo Clinic, but they have not much time to vet all of these. So if they come through the Techstars pipeline, it makes it a lot easier for Mayo Clinic to kind of figure out who might be good to work with. And then we have our startup program. So that's a whole different pile that's on the side over here. So Startup Weekend is probably the most well-known of these. We've had over 2,000 startup weekends in over 135 countries globally. So the whole point of Startup Weekend, if you haven't heard of it, is to spur entrepreneurship, community building, and growth. So we'll have half of the people that come in be on the business-minded side, and the other half will be on the design technology side. We actually have different buckets if you've ever signed up for Startup Weekend, where it's like you can sign up for a business ticket, a design ticket, or a coding ticket, right? And the point is that if you bring people of these diverse backgrounds together, you'll see synergy, right? You'll see them create more and inspire one another. And when it comes to businesses, you need more than one skill set to make it work. When you're looking at the business side, they might know how to do the financials and the logistics and all that good stuff, the marketing. But the designers are the ones who make everything pretty, who make things usable, who make people want to use a product, right? You have the technology people who do the functionality and the hardcore science and programming behind all of those things. So putting them together makes it all better and gives it a whole bucket of resources that people can work with. So you get all of these people at a startup weekend, and they have 54 hours to create a business, right? And it's not going to be a full functional running business, but it's the whole ideation stage. So you get a couple people to come up and say, I want to pitch you my idea that I would like to work on during this weekend, right? And then you have groups of people come up and start working with them during this. And then you'll do business modeling, prototyping, all of that. And at the end, you will be judged by some people who are big in the industry. And then at that point in time, if you win, you get in-kind donations of services. Like it could be law firm helping you do your incorporation, or talking about IP or something like that. But that's the whole point of a startup weekend. And from there, companies can go into Startup Next. They don't have to necessarily start in the startup weekend to get to Startup Next. It's just kind of how the progression might flow. Because Startup Next is after the ideation point. Startup Next is really, I have my idea, I have my business, I've incorporated, but I need a lot of help with everything else. And I kind of see a lot of people at Mayo, maybe on the physician side, go through that when they're doing like EVP and all of that, where they're like, I got this wonderful idea, I can make a prototype, but I have no idea how to sell it. I have no idea like how to find a target audience for this. I have no idea how to do all of these things. So it's like a boot camp that you can go to get help with mentors. And it's really a short type of thing. So we have a couple of them strewn throughout the country. And it's a good way to prepare yourself for going to an accelerator. And that's why I have these funny looking arrows. So usually the point at which you can enter an accelerator is kind of after the Startup Next, because then now you've already created your business, you have a strong business model, you know what you're doing, but you need to grow at an accelerated pace. And that's the point. Some companies will come in and say, well, this company is in the accelerator and they're at a different point than I'm at. It doesn't matter, because what you're measuring yourself on is how much you can push your own business and the value your business can derive in comparison to where it was before you entered, right? So your company can grow 33% or triple its revenue. And that's all you care about for your business, and that could be the same for another business, but if that one is a lot less developed, their triple is going to be different than your triple, if that makes sense. Then after that, we have Startup Digest, and that's kind of like BioAM actually.
I know.
Very similar. Yeah, so you guys know what BioAM is, right? Yeah? You know? No? Okay. Jamie, you want to say what BioAM is, since no one seems to want to talk about it?
No, I did that yesterday.
But yeah, so it's basically like a newsletter, keeps the community all informed. And although we have all of these programs, that's not everything that we do. We do more. We do a lot of community events. We do a lot of working with other partners to try and ensure that we have a great community of people that are working together and supporting one another. We have alumni events throughout different cities once a month. We also get together every year at this thing called FounderCon, which is a shirt that I'm wearing right now. And it's a 3-day conference, and it's not like your typical conference, because I think you probably have in your head, oh, everyone's in a suit and tie, and we're all getting lectured at by this famous person, and then we go and we have cocktails afterwards. And it's kind of stuffy, right? Is that how you guys imagine conferences kind of being? Yeah, and sometimes you actually leave because it's boring. That's not FounderCon. FounderCon, if I can illustrate this really well, we had a circus, we had bands, we had a lot of alcohol, and we had a bunch of founders, and it was like a family party with some learning going on and a lot of connections. We also had a Biz Dev Day during that, where we basically had, I forget how many companies came in, but we had the likes of Pandora and Google and Box and all of these big organizations that would acquire a startup there, and they were talking with the companies. So each startup that we had that was signed up for Biz Dev Day met with 16 corporations. So if that's not good for growing your business, I don't know what is. So all those meetings in one day, and it was super hectic. And in the meanwhile, we've got bonding things going on. They were going to do nature hikes together. People were going and playing in arcades. And we did have talks, but the talks, because of that atmosphere, made it a lot more congenial, and everyone was kind of dressed like I am right now. And maybe that's also something I should point out. We're not suit and tie folk. We will dress up if we have to, but it's shirts, t-shirts, jeans, and leggings, and flip-flops is kind of how you see people walk around the office. And if you've ever seen Brad Feld, he wears Crocs, not Brad Feld, David Cohen, he wears Crocs around the office all day long, and he's our CEO. And Brad Feld is always in a Hawaiian t-shirt. So that's kind of the culture that we have, and we think it's more about the person than what your perceived title or your dress looks like. So we talked a little bit about Startup Weekend, and I wanted to let you know that we're doing Youth Startup Weekend here in Rochester. So if you want to be a part of that, let us know. The thought process is that we're kind of missing a lot of entrepreneurs, designers, a lot of different aspects aside from just the medical and traditional tech industries. And we want to grow that in our youth, because what we see is that startups, like Mike Rowley from GoRoute, they have a hard time finding people who can do their programming, who can do their design, who they can actually hire here. And we have a great resource in our children. So high schoolers, middle schoolers, we're going to open it up and see what they can create. And we're going to do this in a way that's kind of untraditional in that we aren't going to be dictating things to them or teaching them. This is about showing them that they've got skill sets, and we're actually going to be on the same level as peers with them. So as adults that will participate in this, you're going to be working alongside the students. So like if you were a family, you could all come in, but it's not mom and dad telling little Johnny what to do. It's mom and dad working with Johnny to actually build something. And I think that that's something that we need to take in mind of. Was anyone here for the Emerging Entrepreneur Pitch Night or Demo Night? How many of you were impressed by the team of girls? Yeah? Yeah. And they're in middle school and high school. And the stuff that, the way they were able to stand up here and present themselves, the way that they were able to learn that script in like 24 hours, they put that all together in one day. And that's more than some adults can do. They are really skilled girls, and why can't we hire them to do some app design? That's all we're saying here with this startup weekend. So if you want more information on that, Jamie actually can help you.
And we're also, as part of this week, trying to raise money to support the initial launch of Startup Weekend. So on the GEW Rochester page, there's a donate button. There's also, if you get tickets for any more events, there's a special donor ticket. Sort of a free will offering, just put out what you think you'd like to give, and all of that will be returned to Startup Weekend to help us launch here starting in 2016.
Yeah, and we want this to be open to everyone, not just here in Rochester, but the surrounding areas too. And we don't want to forget about the kids that are in alternative schooling or that might not be able to purchase one of these tickets because we have to supply food, we need to get sponsors. It's probably going to cost a little bit of money to be able to attend. And the more sponsorship, the more donations, the less that ticket cost is going to be, and the more people are going to be able to attend this. So just keep that in mind. And I've kind of talked about this a little bit already. I said it's all about the community, it's about the people. One of the things that people ask is, so what are the criteria that you guys look at when you bring a company into Techstars, into one of your accelerator programs? And it's right here. Team, 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 market progress idea. We say team 3 times. The first 3 out of 6 things are the team. And we mean that you're good people, that you're going to contribute to this community, that you have great personal interaction between your co-founders. Because we require that there's at least 2 people starting this business so that you're not bearing this burden alone, because it is a really difficult thing to start your own business. Nate, would you say that it's hard?
A good team makes a big difference.
Yeah. So having the right people around you is super important. And when you think about Techstars, we say Techstars for life. So once you've entered the Techstars Accelerator program or Techstars Ventures or something like that, you are part of our community until you die. It's not until your company dies, it's until you die. So that means that, let's say, you are one of the 11% that fail. We don't ostracize you for failing. We say, oh, great job, you tried, come back to the community, what's your next idea, how can we help you, maybe another founder might hire you. That's how we feel about it. It's like giving someone the opportunity to fail and saying that you learned something from this experience that's going to make you better in the next thing that you do. And we will welcome you back in. It kind of reminds me of a family. Like, you have, the kid goes off, maybe they didn't do something so good, but the parent isn't going to say, okay, well, I hate you now. You have to go away. They say, Johnny, that's really bad that you did that, but I hope you learned from it and I still love you, and that's kind of how we operate. The next thing, market progress idea, that's pretty typical if you look at venture capital firms. They want to see, how big is your target audience, who's gonna buy this, what have you done? Have you gotten customers already? Do you already have that bigger team in place? You have a board of directors, you have an advisory board. Are you doing partnerships? How many customers do you actually have? That's kind of progress. And then ideas, well, is this interesting? Because another piece of this is when you are Techstars for life, that also does mean that we have to deal with you for life, and we have to kind of like what you're doing. It has to be interesting. When Brad Feld talks about venture capital, he'll say that one of the most important things from him after liking the people is, do I like what they're doing? Because I have to have interest in it. To be able to provide the right kind of support to these people, and in their long journey, which, I mean, building a business will take years. It's not like a one-year thing and then you're done. It takes years to build. And to be able to support them in this for that long a period of time, you have to have passion for it. So the people in the network have to want to be a part of this. It's not just about, hey, this is going to make money. I mean, sure, that's good and we want it to do that, but it can't just be that. So the power of the network. This is, I think this is demo day in Sprint. I think they usually have 1,000 people attend their demo days in Kansas City. They just have a huge community of entrepreneurs and startup people and industry people who are really excited about the work that people do in starting businesses. And like I said, it's all about relationships. And the three things that we like to say, I also do more faster, but I didn't put it up there. First thing is give first. That's the most important thing that we have. The more that you as a person can give back, as long as it's safe for you to do so, like you have the time and the ability and whatever, don't overextend yourself, but whatever you can do for another person, for someone in your community, do it. That's how we feel. The second one is founders first. Do everything that you can do to make the founder successful in their startups. Do whatever is good for that business, do whatever that's good for the founder. And sometimes that can be hard because you have a corporate partner that you're dealing with in a lot of these programs, and then you have the founders. This really shows it's the founders, right? All eggs go with the founders, within reason, but as much as you can, support the founders. So Techstars for life, we already kind of discussed, but this picture kind of shows the kind of energy that we have when we do these kinds of programs. And this is a smaller program that we run here, so it's usually something like a CFI or something like that, and it's a lot smaller. But what I would hope is that this community grows and we're able to have much bigger events that are community supported, and we're able to do more things that support the learning and the mission of entrepreneurship here in town. There's a couple books that I could recommend that you read. Every employee who's hired by Techstars is given these 3 books, and they really change your thinking as to what startups are, how venture capital works, and how do I build my business and how I build my community. So they have sections on startup communities, on the roles of government, the roles of education, the roles of founders. Do More Faster kind of shows you how to accelerate your business, and then gives you a couple of real life stories that we've had over at Techstars. And then Venture Deals will give you some semblance of how in the heck does this industry work, because it's a little ridiculous. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions since no one interrupted me. Yep.
On the youth startup weekend, is there any difference in the schedule per se from the standard startup weekend?
Yeah.
Length of hours and that sort of
Typically, it's 54 hours, so it's Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. I was given the okay, and I haven't told everyone because we haven't had our next meeting yet, that we could do a 2-day, and that would be fine. But it's depending on what everyone else wants to do, what would work best for the community involved. Anyone else? Was this confusing at all? Because sometimes it can be hard to explain. Feedback?
On the startup weekend?
Yep.
You like to get to go, you're just there for the experience then, not as a niche person, you're there to help, or how fully get
So I'm actually part of the team, so I'm going to be helping organize that night. So startup weekends generally are community-led initiatives. So it just so happens that I work for Techstars, but I'm doing this on my community time. And so you have a group that organizes, and you have some lead organizers. There'll be like, I think, three to five lead organizers, and 5 to 12 or so volunteers that also organize the event. We need judges for this. We need on the day of volunteers, and then to attend, we will reach out to the schools. So we're already working with the Rochester Public Schools. We're working with the Catholic school system, and we're going to extend that out as much as we can. But we're hoping to get a bunch of students to attend, so middle school, high school, depending on their maturity level for the middle schoolers, as well as adults. So IBMers, Mayo Clinic people, we would like you to attend and then work with these students on real life ideas that you'd like to bring to market.
Is that the youth one you're talking about, or is that
The youth one, yeah.
But on the regular,
Yeah, usually there aren't students, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But the projects, who brings the projects?
Oh, the people. Yeah, the
Okay,
people
so
who
it's
attend.
just purely.
Whatever tickles
Okay.
your fancy.
Okay.
To give you an idea, in some countries, since it's used in 135, it's used for red pollution. It's used to plan a lot of things that we probably won't do here in Rochester, Minnesota. One of our colleagues who he actually works for Techstars, he's from Damascus, and he ran as a community lead startup weekend in Damascus for a number of years. And we're actually trying to organize a startup weekend in Turkey or Greece for the Syrian refugees. So that's going to be a little different than what we do here. Yeah.
How would you summarize your difference from like Y Combinator?
Yeah.
Is it an easy way to say like we're this way and they're that way?
Well, they're kind of like all about Silicon Valley, and we're saying we can be everywhere, right? And then their leadership post tweets that are like, every day I wake up trying to separate the winners from the losers. That's not how we think. We believe that with coaching, good people, ordinary people can be great people. And that's what we want to deliver. It's not winners from losers.
So it sounds like way more of a network and growth than you just sort of about community Techstars.
Exactly. That's all. We really feel that we help someone become better, no matter what age we're helping them in. Like if you have a student at the startup weekend, and then they contribute back to that cycle, and then the world just gets better. Yep.
So what's your role?
So I run the Techstars Plus program here. So I'm program director. So my job is to bring health tech startups from our network to Mayo Clinic to partner with the physicians and clinicians to do a variety of things. And, yeah, those are all different depending on the companies that come through, because they could be device, they could be like platforms, they could be apps. We've had all 3 different categories come in completely different disease states and health and wellness areas. So. You're good? Did you all sign that thank you card for Victorious? All right, good.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Sure.